Boom! We just finished watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. It is here. It is time.
We've had Marks in a car, riding with the Marks. Now you got Marks in a loft.
On a couch.
On
a casting couch.
if you will.
It's not black and leathery, but it does the job. Anyway, so we just finished it. Oh, man. Where to even start with this? I guess the most obvious thing is Junkie XL is a insane madman that should be praised in every facet possible. This score is probably my favorite score. I don't know. It would, Man of Steel is great. Batman vs. Superman is a great score. But this was just like every moment, every bit of music made every little thing, even the stuff that we've seen already previously, made it so much more epic. It took something from like the theatrical cut that was like a 4 and turns it up to like an 8 or a 9. Just how it's presented.
Easily. I couldn't believe specific scenes that were very, very similar to the theatrical cut, but just with the music alone, it completely changed it. The whole feel, it's not cheesy, it's not corny, it's almost essentially the same scene, and it was beautiful. There's variations of similar music that we've heard before, and just certain twists on it. There's new music. I mean, he went all out with this entire movie.
There's tweaks to the Wonder Woman theme, tweaks to the Man of Steel theme. There's all these little things done just to amp them up a little bit. And also, this may sound weird, but the sound design, everything. I remember when Snyder was talking about a SnyderCon, how he would he wants safe door for everything. Just big boom for everything. And you got that. There was even just this little nuance with Cyborg alone. Every movement he did had these particular noises. Things that just made him have a bigger presence in the movie.
Flash, Steppenwolf, same thing. Yeah. The sound is, you definitely want to watch this on something with good sounds, because it comes out. It definitely comes alive.
All the atmosphere, the ambient noise that surrounds you with the movie, it's insane. It's a whole different level of filmmaking when you compare it to the theatrical. It's just, there's just a different level here, and I think that's one of the things that really sets it apart. Whether there's some things that still feel very familiar because we've already seen them, and really they're just extended in this movie, it still changes the landscape completely.
Even certain pieces of dialogue that have been leaked or come out of, like, oh, maybe that is Zack Snyder and that wasn't a Joss Whedon thing. It's tweaked a little bit, plus with the environment and the sound and the music and the score, it sounds so much better. And I don't feel like I have the Snyder goggles on, that you can definitely tell the cadence of the way that the dialogue is spoken. It's just so much better, so much clearer. Natural. Exactly. And so it just makes the scenes less corny, less cheesy overall.
Yeah, I think people will also be surprised what scenes are actually still in this movie that were in the theatrical cut that people thought for sure was probably a Joss Whedon edition. There was a couple that surprised me for sure.
Yeah.
The couple things, it's just that it's 4 hours. It goes by pretty quick. Yeah. It feels like the BVS Ultimate Edition, 3 hours, 2.5 maybe. It feels pretty streamlined. It feels easy to get through. I sometimes at one point I'm like, okay, what is really though the big difference here? Like what is? I mean, there is a big difference, but it feels like the same runtime as the theatrical. It feels like I'm going through this movie at the same pace, but yet it's 4 hours. It's double the runtime. It's just weird. It's a weird thing of, I guess, filmmaking. I guess.
We'll get into more too eventually about details in terms of the scenes and what Joss Whedon probably should have done versus what actually happened. When you watch this movie, there's so much that was unnecessarily changed that really makes you wonder and think. And
there's things that are almost identical. Not identical, but they're set up in a way. They still have humor or fun.
Yep, exactly.
But yet they completely altered them. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. I don't understand why. I guess runtime. Runtime, somehow they had to squeeze more fun into a 2-hour cut than what Snyder's would have allowed.
Brighten it up, yeah.
So that's the only thing I can think of. So they had to redo these shots to make those things work. That's the only thing I can think of. Because some of the stuff is almost it's the concept is almost identical to what's in Snyder's version, but for some reason they redid the whole thing.
Yeah. Yep. So when people talk about, oh, it's essentially the same movie, kind of, sort of is. There's obviously a lot more that's filled out. There's a lot more, things that we weren't expecting. There's additional scenes and things like that. Certain things fleshed out. I think the one maybe downside is there are certain scenes that maybe over the course of these past several years that we've been building this up, that we kind of built it up in our minds of like, okay, this is going to be epic grand scale, and maybe built it up a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So again, when we get into some more spoiler talk, we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail. But there was definitely a couple instances where like, I thought that was going to be a little bit more. Not that it was bad. Not that it's...
Oh, no, it was phenomenal. Yeah. It's still 10 steps above everything else.
Exactly. Just not what was built or even rumored.
The grandiose scheme of it all and everything. You thought it was going to be this big epic thing, but no, it's only 8 or 9 minutes. So, it's things like that. But this, man, it's crazy what happened with Cyborg. I really thought, I was like, okay, the reason why they probably removed some of the Cyborg stuff, there's a lot of speculation why. But it was like, okay, because they wanted to save stuff for the origin film. But yes, there's things that happen, but really, Cyborg's role in this is just essential. He's a big deal to get the League where they need to go and what they need to do. It has nothing with setting up really origins or anything like that. That's what I originally thought was the big deal. Like, they were trying to cut back so they could save for his 2020 origin movie.
Same thing with The Flash.
Yeah.
There's nothing in this, that the stuff that was cut was probably just for pure sake of runtime. But there's certain things in it that really add to the character development and really allow you to connect with the character a lot more. That's really what almost every character across the board, because it's 4 hours, because it's so much more larger scale, it really allows you to connect with those characters even deeper, which is awesome.
The color grading, we're going to talk about that, because this is another thing when it comes to the aesthetics of the film. The color grading matters, because the bat suit looks so good in this. It looks so much better, because I know there's been a debate about the BVS suit compared to the Justice League suit. A lot of people are like, I don't really like the Justice League suit, I prefer the BVS suit. But when you see the Justice League suit properly color graded and fit better for the the atmosphere that it's in, oh my god, it just...
Oh yeah. So, several aspects in this movie, which you can probably already guess from the trailers and everything that we've gotten, the color grading so much better. It's kind of surprising. It's different. It definitely was not what I was expecting. There's a lot of scenes where I'm like, oh, okay, it's brighter. And again, it really makes you wonder with the amount of humor that's in it. I thought that was surprising. Flash plays a big part of that. I don't think that's too spoilery.
That's one of the things I was talking about, like with those Joss Whedon things. It's why humor him up even more? They just kind of he already had humor, in this, but they decided to make him like childish humor.
Right.
I guess they were, aiming for that demographic, that lower bar.
Even more so. And then you already have a pretty bright movie for Zack Snyder, and you want to make it brighter? I guess changes the color grading. I feel like what we saw could have been. Everything happens for a reason, and obviously we got the 4-hour version because of everything that unfolded. But I definitely think there's a 2-hour version of the movie that you just chop it up and finish the CGI and roll with it.
I think they could have done that from the start. I think they could have. And they could have pulled it on very minimal reshoots, but somebody just stuck their hand in the cookie jar too much and just really over bloated everything. But hey, their fuck up is our win.
Exactly.
In the end,
so now we got this 4-hour.
So now we got this
epic.
But also, it's crazy when you think about the 4 hours and how much you have there. And there's some things that you don't. Like we were talking about some of the scenes and everything. Like some of them are just not as long as you thought they were.
Right.
Which
is so crazy.
And it's just weird. It's just weird how that is. But I will talk about the CGI. Now the CGI, when it comes to characters like Steppenwolf, Darkseid, Cyborg, those a couple other characters that involve CGI, they all look amazing. CGI is on top of it. Now, saying that, there's moments where the green screen, to me, it's not borderline bad, but there's particular scenes where it's like, okay, I don't know if this was something that was being last minute worked on or what was going on necessarily, but the green screen, I don't know. There's some moments where I was like, wow, that does not look good at all. I don't know. I mean, all I can think of is like a lot of the time was spent on Steppenwolf because holy shit.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the characters, Darkseid, they absolutely.
The Parademons. The Parademons look awesome. They're the old BVS Parademons, and they look great, and they are menacing. And that's another thing. I'm curious, and this isn't really a spoiler at all, but I'm curious what makes a PG-13 in these days. You know, because there is a lot of Parademon blood.
Yeah.
Or goo.
Goo. Yeah. It's not even really blood.
It's goo. Yeah. It's goo, and they really amp that bad boy up. And I'm curious if that would still get a rated R because it's an alien. Technically, it's not human blood, right? It's goo.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I was
splatters a lot.
It's like Dak, you know, or whatever, like Nickelodeon. Anyway, it's interesting. It makes me wonder. There's actually a couple multiple F-bombs in this. It's not just Batman that drops one. There's multiple ones as well. Batman's is pretty epic. Yeah. A lot of people will enjoy that one. But yeah, back to the green screen though. There's just some parts where green screen is very, very sketchy, but we're watching it on this premiere one, and we were kind of debating, like, I wonder if the version that gets on HBO Max, because it's supposed to be like 4K or ultra high definition or something like that, I'm wondering if it's going to look a little bit sharper than this one.
Right.
Because this is on some, as people following on Twitter might know, there's some crappy Microsoft thing that was crashed.
Yeah, and you actually had to cast it. I tried like connecting computers and stuff, and yeah, we had to cast it to the whatever device that we were using. So I have a Google Chromecast. Had a tablet that was casting to that. So there were a couple scenes where we were debating, okay, is the projector having a hard time like depicting this scene? Is the tablet buffering, or does the scene just look like this because it's the, you know, what
is there some kind of ambient feature, like fog? Like we were debating.
Yeah, exactly.
We were trying to figure out, is that supposed to be fog? Is that
what is odd? Yeah.
So there's just some moments where you're like, okay, that's odd. So I guess when it comes down to the quality of the thing, to really give a grade on that quality, we'll have to wait until we see it on HBO Max and its ultra high definition glory to really determine things, because this was just weird. So I don't know if that's how the movie looks, or that's just the circumstances that we're dealing with right now that kind of cause certain issues. But I mean, you know, sometimes it pulls you out of it a little bit, but it's no fucking CGI lip. So
exactly.
Yeah,
could be worse.
Yeah,
that was the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, so it's definitely not that. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is out, 4 hours, and it was the big thing. The big difference, while some of it may still feel familiar from the theatrical cut, the ending is by far. It's fascinating to think that, you know, people thought that wasn't an ending to try to hammer out.
Yeah,
that ending. The ending was just awesome. Superman's return, which we already know.
Spoilers.
We already know.
Yeah.
You know, if you've seen the theatrical version, you know. That his return is unbelievable. Everything that happens, how they're executing things, the fight to get to the reactor, is just unbelievable. It's amazing. And there's just a couple things in there, where a couple shots where I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They didn't think that was a good shot. Like even if you were trying to save time and everything, this is your team up movie moment. Right there.
If you're trying to replicate an Avengers, there's a scene in there that should have been left. And if that's what Joss Whedon was trying to accomplish, you keep this scene.
And no, it was ripped out.
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, so crazy.
Nothing made sense. And really, one of the biggest casualties of this is Cyborg. Yeah, his story was ripped apart. Everything with his mother to his father, everything was torn up. And it's just crazy, like almost... I think Ray Fisher did say this, actually. Like, everything of his was almost reshot. And looking at this movie now...
Seems like it.
Except for the rooftop with Gordon. Which even then, I think that might be slightly modified as well. But it's definitely... That definitely seems very accurate. Because how a lot of things are executed, it definitely changes. There are redos on a lot of things. And so,
we'll get into it more.
Yeah,
it's definitely interesting to dissect, and it's fascinating.
It's an amazing feat that this movie was done, and the fact that it's actually such a lighter movie. One of the things I always thought that was one of the holding blocks, among many things, was that it was probably going to be really dark in nature. And trust me, there is some dark things that are shown, some very dark things that are shown.
Something dark.
Yeah, and they're pretty freaking awesome. But then the overall look of the film, I mean, it's a lighter tone movie.
Yep.
It still has some of the jokes from the theatrical
progression. Yeah.
I mean, there's some they removed. There is definitely some that were Snyder's that they removed, but it's definitely different. It's definitely, you know, they definitely did some things to, you know, change things up. So,
which again makes it surprising because it's such a perfect foundation. If you chop it into a 3-hour movie, you know, maybe everything doesn't happen in Snyder's personal life. You bring it down to a 3-hour movie and you roll it out. It sets up future films perfectly. It does a great job establishing this certain league, and it's lighter tone, both visually and dialogue-wise. There's humor in it. I think this is what Warner Brothers would have wanted to accomplish, and it's amazing what got altered.
It makes sense now why on the tomato meter it's ranking so high.
Yeah.
Now I understand why. Yeah. When going into this, I thought this was going to be a much darker film, tone-wise.
Yeah.
And now seeing it, I'm like, okay, it's starting to make more sense now. Because people have already this low humor bar for Snyder because they don't pay attention. Yeah, the subtle humor that he does already.
Alfred, Perry White,
and so you know, and now they've stepped it up a little bit because they got Alfred, Flash, and a couple other people. I mean, even Jason Momoa's Aquaman does a couple things too.
And a couple lines in there.
He does some. You know, he's just, you know, kick-ass one-liner type guy, and so he throws some stuff out there as well. So it's definitely a lighter flux. So So now I truly do understand now why it is doing so well.
Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing. It's different. It was different. You know, when you're watching it, you're kind of thinking like, okay, it feels lighter. I was surprised with how much humor was in it.
But it's not dumbed down like the theatrical.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like
or cheesy or corny or no.
It's still got the Terry O. Snyder dialogue, but yet there's still some occasional quips.
Yeah, and it has a broad range too of emotional scenes, action scenes, humor scenes. I think it covers all the bases, and I think that's why this one will be so well received. And you know, who knows for the future, but it's definitely.
Cyborg has the one line that probably made me laugh the most. So I think so. That was an interesting line. Anyway, we got an age for Wonder Woman, I guess. Anyway, so that's it. I mean, was it worth the wait? Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. It's here. Is it gonna? I think. I don't know. I mean, it's setting up. The thing is, this is such a lighter tone that people are gonna love. So if it sets up future movies, the future movies are gonna be so much darker. No, that's the thing.
Especially the next one.
Yeah. If the next one happens, I mean, just the ending alone, the cliffhanger alone.
Knock on wood that the next one. Yeah.
The cliffhanger alone is gonna, send you into, a much darker territory. So I don't know if that's going to work or not. I don't know. Maybe it has or happened. We'll see. So
maybe they alter it. Maybe they combine them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think well worth the wait. Amazing movie. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, everything was great. Just good times, guys. So get ready to watch it Thursday, March 18th on HBO Max or wherever your country plays. Make sure you keep checking out that website.
Wherever videos are sold.
Yes. Coming soon. Anyway, wherever VHSs are sold, just go look for it. It's here, guys. It's a long way. It's tiring, almost.
Yeah.
It's like
especially we will go into detail on what kind of happened with this whole thing. I'm sure people know with this pre-release, but oh my gosh. We did it, we watched it, but man.
But it's almost like a weight off the shoulders a little bit. Like it's here. We just watched it. It was awesome. 2 thumbs up. In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.